Transporter T6 Tacho failure and UDS Immo issues explained with easy fix paths. Hey everyone, this is Hussein, and I welcome you back to Baabji Motors, your home for deep dive diagnostics, real-world programming challenges, and practical solutions trusted by technicians across the world. Today, we're taking a closer look at some confusing and often misunderstood problems that many transporter owners and locksmiths run into, especially when working on late-model UDS and PQ-based immobilizer systems. Before we begin, here's a short but important copyright note, so everything stays clear and safe. This video is purely educational, meant to help technicians, learners, and enthusiasts understand how these automotive systems behave. All trademarks and brand names belong to their rightful owners, and every viewer should follow manufacturer guidelines and local laws before working on any vehicle. And since many of you ask about the exact diagnostic gear I use, the affiliate tag tools mentioned in this breakdown are linked in the description. If you choose to grab them, it supports the channel at no extra cost and helps Baabji Motors keep delivering educational content for the community. Now let me start with a mind-stretching question. What exactly happens inside the instrument cluster on a transporter when communication fails in the middle of a Tacho read? And why do some clusters on the 2019 to 2020 transporter lineup behave almost like MQB platforms, even though they're not full MQB? Think about that while you watch, because the answer may surprise you. And stick around until the end, because I'll share a unique insight that most technicians never hear unless they've handled dozens of transporter IMMO cases. Let's begin with the first situation. A user tried reading the tachograph of a Transporter T6 with a GoDiag interface connected through a VVDI key tool plus. During the process, the unit went completely dead. No backlight, no ignition response, and not even the vehicle recognized it anymore. The cluster part numbers mentioned were 7E0920870S and 7E0920880L. When a cluster shuts off during a read or write attempt, especially through pads or pogo connections, it usually means the microcontroller entered a lock state or the voltage dipped at the wrong moment. These clusters don't always burn visibly. They simply stop booting because the internal bootloader can fall into an incomplete or corrupted state. That is why the user saw no signs of burnt components, yet the unit refused to communicate. Imagine a laptop that freezes during a BIOS update. From the outside, nothing looks wrong, but internally the system cannot complete the boot sequence. The same thing happens in these transporter clusters. Often, the solution is to recover the microcontroller via a deeper connection method like a full pin lift, a proper MultiProg read, or desoldering the EEPROM and reprogramming it externally. And sometimes the IMMO area becomes partially damaged, requiring a donor file or repair file. The second issue is something many locksmiths face. While working on a 2019 transporter with all keys lost, the technician tried using VVDI2 with a pogo cable, targeting the 24C64 EEPROM. But VVDI2 couldn't identify the dash. They tried every available option for the NEC plus 24C64 combinations, yet every one of them failed. A similar problem appeared on another Transporter T6 dash with part number 7E0920861A. Even though the EEPROM inside was clearly a 24C64, the tool refused to read or recognize it. This is where the deeper truth comes in. The last software versions of the PQ and UDS-based IMMO4 clusters are simply not supported by most tools. These late software transporter units behave so much like early MQB clusters that you practically need the secret key extracted from the NEC processor just to decrypt the immobilizer data. Because transporters are commercial vehicles and not mass-market passenger cars, tool manufacturers have very little incentive to focus on this odd combination. So support is slow, and some variants remain completely untouched. Even more interesting, these models don't use a standard ID48 transponder. They use Megamos AES, which changes the entire security handling. For software versions around 2030, the safest and most reliable method is to purchase the immobilizer data directly rather than attempting risky dumps that fail to decrypt. An experienced owner shared that on his 2019 transporter, even though the EEPROM was a 24C64, using a pogo pin wasn't enough. If you create a service dump using the wrong variant, for example, selecting 24C64 when the cluster internally expects a 24C32 structure, the cluster will end up with mismatched memory blocks. And that alone is enough to cause major trouble. One technician pointed out something important. VVDI2 can sometimes misidentify EEPROM type when using auto-detect. That means a user may feel confident selecting the suggested option, but the device may be completely wrong. It's a subtle detail, but it matters because these clusters rely heavily on correct memory alignment. Another contributor mentioned that Xhorse equipment can technically handle these clusters when done the correct way. The method involves reading the CPU through MultiProg, loading that data into VVDI2, allowing it to decode and extract the secret key, and then logging into the cluster using that key. They reported successful work on software versions 2050 and 3030. Someone else shared that they successfully handled a transporter T6 with an AES key using VVDI2. Their cluster was an earlier software version, and VVDI recognized it correctly. They even managed remote generation using Xhorse Remote. That tells us something important. Not all transporter T6 clusters are the same. Some are easier. Some behave like older PQ units. And some behave nearly identical to MQB with their security layers. At one point in the discussion, someone said, if these clusters get any more complicated, they'll start asking for a cup of coffee and a day off before they agree to read. That moment brought some much-needed humor to a stressful topic, because anyone who has worked on UDS clusters knows exactly how unpredictable they can be. Thank you for staying with me through this deep dive. Now let's circle back to the question from the beginning. What happens inside the cluster when communication fails during a Tacho read, and why do these transporter units act like MQB? The answer is that the microcontroller enters a partially written state, losing the ability to finish its boot cycle, and the security architecture of late UDS transporter clusters requires NEC-level decryption, just like MQB. That combination makes them extremely sensitive and difficult for aftermarket tools to fully support. Personally, I believe these units reflect a transition era in Volkswagen's commercial vehicle electronics, where features moved faster than tool development. It creates headaches for technicians today, but it also encourages better tools tomorrow. I would love to hear your experiences. Have you ever encountered a transporter cluster that refused to read, identify, or decrypt? Share your story in the comments. Before we wrap up, here's a unique fact many don't know. The transporter T6 platform uses more than one security concept, depending on production batch, and some clusters silently change suppliers mid-year, which is why two vehicles built only a few months apart may behave completely differently even with the same EEPROM type printed on the board. If you found value in this breakdown, help Baabji Motors reach our targets. Let's aim for 10,000 likes, 1,000 comments, and a wave of support to hype this video across YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect moment. Also, don't forget to check out the affiliate tag tools in the description if you want the same diagnostic gear used in this demonstration. Thank you once again for watching, for supporting, and for learning with me. Until next time, keep exploring, keep sharpening your craft, and happy diagnosing.